We have 5 people joining for the panel. Let's welcome them one by one. So we have Suraj, and we have Ruchika and Hasnen. Please come on stage. And we have Aditya as well. Aditya, please come. Yeah. Great. And let's have a quick introduction for all of you. You can say your name and what you do. Maybe pick a side if you want.
Pick a side.
So yeah, we can start with.
Why is starting from me? Can you please start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have been already introduced. So I have been working with React Native and supporting that.
Supporting that or supporting what's right?
Not really. I'm Suraj. I'm working with Native team, and I don't know I'm supporting anything, but I'm going to talk about React Native most.
So I am Ruchika Gupta, and I'll be definitely supporting Flutter today because we have the audience as well.
Hi, I am Hasnen. Most of you know I am supporting Flutter because I am a Flutter developer.
Okay.
I am Ahmad. I work at Grow, and my main part there is with React Native, so I know how terrible it is. Today I'm not going to support any of them because I have worked with both of them and I know the pain points of both, and I feel there should be a line where the next person can pick what's right for them rather than fighting a war that this is the best framework in the world. I don't support it.
Yeah, I think I go by that idea too, and I really like even like what Suraj said, right? Like not here to support anything in particular, but learn from each other. I know it feels good to be India and Pakistan, thing, but and we have learned a lot of things from both the frameworks, and we are now implementing. Like Flutter was actually inspired by React, and then there are great things happening in Flutter. For example, the ski engine that Flutter uses now it's available in React Native. So I think it makes sense to learn from each other and not really fight and stay unpolarized. Okay?
Yeah.
Great. So I have a few questions. The first question is about the support of web, because Flutter and React Native, especially Flutter, they root that okay, this is the thing for universal apps. So how is the support of web in React Native and Flutter? So let's start from this side.
Yeah, I think with React Native, I mean, as soon as the React Native came out, the support for React Native Web as well, the package itself from the community, it came out. And people have building a lot of stuff with it. And even the Twitter, and we have that build on React Native Web and it's a platform where we use it in web and mobile of both places. So React Native Web has a very huge support and the community is great around that. So yeah, we have that.
Yeah. So having same code base for web and mobile, that's the amazing idea. So we have support for React Native on web, thanks to React Native Web library. So using that, we can write our React Native code. We can run it on web as well. So why need for that? We also already know the need for running React Native code on web platform, as most of the users are from the web and they use mobile phone, mobile browsers to run their web application. So we have support for that. This has some pros and cons that I think we'll talk about it later.
Okay, so in Flutter, Flutter was trying to create an ecosystem around across the platform. So for that, they created a support for web as well. But depending on the use case that what exactly we are trying to build, then only we have to select Flutter Web, because as we know, like all the basic APIs is available in Flutter Web. Also, if you want to go ahead with common website and some user interface, then you can choose web for sure. But if you are trying to create some data loaded website which need high performance and maybe some kind of dashboard which have to deal with millions of data, so for that, I think performance-wise, Flutter Web is still in progress. We don't have like much API to support that. So for basic application, we can go ahead with Flutter.
I guess I have an experience in both the platform to work with the web part. Flutter team says that Flutter Web is stable and it does work. It's not like it's not working at all. It does work, but it has some problems like SEO problem, a high loading time, and most of the pub.dev package is still not supported. But I'm not going to give a plus for the React Native Web because I had a horrible experience with web when I was working in that hackathon. Maybe maybe the Mandeep knows what was the problem we had, and we had to switch our idea during the hackathon at almost like we spent 5 hours and then we changed the idea. So yeah, those are the issues still there in both the platforms.
Personally, I think this vision of saying that the code base is shareable, which is from React Native and Flutter too, and I have seen many companies feeling that okay, we can achieve it, but it's terribly hard because still there are many platform differences which are not covered by both of them. I think React Native Web is good, but for mobile web pages, not for the desktop web pages, because even the API React Native gives us, it is terribly fast. I think if someone knows it, the flat list or scroll view aren't that good on web actually. They have many differences. And it has accessibility issues too. I think for which there has been a recent issue PR going on. It has issues with SSR, CSS, many things. For Flutter, I think it's a joke, to be honest. It's canvas rendering, and so you won't have SSR, you won't have SEO, which is like most of your web pages. Without it, your business can't run. No matter how pretty your code works, if the business doesn't go by it, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Interesting. Yeah. Any more follow points, Daniel?
Yeah, so for Flutter point of view, so currently Flutter have released two different types of rendering. There is one canvas kit rendering and other is HTML rendering. So build time only, you can just decide that if you want the HTML piece of your code to get compiled and be a part of your search engine or SEO, then you can just create a build using HTML rendering, and it will give you the advanced feature of browser. But that is still in, I think, development, because once you build, it is taking lots of time to run the application. So yeah, for future, I think they will be supporting the SEO part as well and other web related stuff as well.
I love to see that. SSR is really important.
Yes.
And that's why React Native wins in that case.
Also, like what I think which is more important for web development is, when I want to debug something, I need to see, or I need to look at the DOM, what is happening with the DOM, I guess, which is not there in the Flutter, and we really miss it. And I guess the ecosystem where Flutter is trying to replace the HTML and JS with the canvas, I guess I'm not sure how good community is going to accept it, because JS and HTML is like way long back invented and people are used to it. So yeah, that is one of the con for Flutter, I would say. Flutter Web.
Makes sense.
I think adding one point here, which is like, though Flutter Web works, but it still have many missing parts to it, which is like the libraries. So like when you are on React Native Web, there is one advantage, which is like you can use any React library you want, because even React Native Web transpiles to Division, PTEX, it's just a component library, right? So you can use any of the available web libraries, which is actually awesome. At Flutter, you don't have it. If you want a carousel, many libraries are available on React, which you can use on React Native Web just out of the box. And for Flutter, you are like, I don't have anything. I might need to build it on my own.
Makes sense.
I don't agree on this point, because I had a personal experience of missing a package from the React Native Web where we had to change our idea when we were hacking something. So I'm not going to agree on this.
So yeah, so in conclusion, we can say that both the communities that trying, both of them are broken. But in some senses, React Native Web has been there for a little longer. It has a better compatibility with web compared to Flutter. But the future is bright. That's what you can say, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess we need to give chance to a React developer to develop something. If Flutter takes over everything, then their jobs are at risk.
I think one more big advantage is like with React Native Web, you have all the advantage of the bundlers, everything for the web part, which is like there is so much of things going around web, which is like just readily available out of the box with React Native Web because it is close to the native web.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the awesome part of it. With Flutter, you are like, okay, Flutter contributors will do, then we will have this part.
Yeah, it's the classic thing of like being something driven by a company versus being driven by a community.
Yeah.
And because Flutter, Google is pushing building their own apps, and it's centralized mostly. It's a community driven, but it's mostly like centralized at Google. That's what people say. I won't get into the political aspect of things, like how the polarization is, because I was on a Twitter space of React Native, and then I was hearing something totally different, which I don't want to get in. But anyway, let's move on. So, web is one. Related is desktop. So, what's your thoughts on like using these technologies on desktop?
I guess, see, having a same code base for each and every platform will really help, to maintain a project, because having a different code base for different platforms will really have a hard time to manage different issues on different platforms. So I guess if we have a web, of course we can wrap those into an Electron project, and then we can publish it. But in a Flutter, if we have an app single code base which is running on different platform, Android, iOS, and as well as on desktop, so that's a plus point where you have single code base and you can maintain it very easily. So it will be a great plus to a team to ship the product very easily into the market.
And for that, we don't have to do extra layer of setup. By default, Flutter framework supports that. So same piece of code without any external setup, it will run create a desktop application for you.
Yeah. So I haven't personally done this thing with experiment with desktop application, but there are libraries available like React Native Windows, React Native macOS, I think. So yeah, we have support for that in React Native, but I haven't tried it out.
Okay. I hope I see.
Yeah, so I mean, the Microsoft team has been constantly working on that. I mean, React Native macOS and the Windows support. And their team's application is always, I mean, it was built on Electron earlier. Now they have shifted to React Native macOS and Windows, and it's, I mean, we know the pain points of Electron, right? It takes up a lot of memory. Now that they have built it with macOS and Windows support, it is, I mean, the application have come out great. So I think the support, because they have been working on it for a long time now. So now that I feel it is out there, it's good enough to use.
So my point would be here is like when we talk about desktop, right? I think it's a very nuanced, because like I think if you know that Windows has made ASP earlier, which was made to create desktop apps. Now they don't maintain it. They are now using the React Native thing. I think for the both of the platforms here, React Native and Flutter, they give you great capabilities for building a UI. But when you try to go over it, then you are like, okay, there is something which is might not available here. That's where this things here that Microsoft is pushing React Native. That's why the good SDK support would be with React Native rather than on Flutter, because like Microsoft itself is pushing it. Otherwise, if it was driven by, it was a community project, I think with like React Native TV OS or something, you won't see much difference, because both platforms are just giving you to build UI and nothing more than it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, I'm more curious to know, like, for Flutter Windows development and Linux development, we have a widget library which is being designed by the Flutter team as well. So, do we have such libraries available for desktop development in React Native?
It's the same API which works on desktop. Actually, they have made the same API which works on the desktop. It's like out of the blue, you write "Hi, hello world," and it works there too. And the styling too, it just works out of the box. But again, like when you talk about cross-platform code sharing, you would have Firebase. I think 90% of the apps would have Firebase. You don't have on desktop, right? Then you might need to noob it or something. So there would be every time a nuance where you are like, okay, we need to do something, tinker around it. It would never be 100% code sharing. It would be always like 70 to 80%. You need to touch the native world or some tinkering around.
Yeah, I would also like to answer Hasnen's question. So
Yeah.
that's where Flutter and React Native is different. Like React Native does not need to recreate those modules and those libraries when we want to support more platforms. But with Flutter, if you want the design of that platform, you have to rebuild it, the campus. That's it.
But I guess, see, it is important to have those look and feel on the platform. Let's say if we have a Windows application, then we need to have a user to look and feel that yes, it's a Windows based theme, or so that is one important aspect as a end user.
Yeah, so that is already available. in React Native, you need to just map the API because it uses the native widgets. That's it. Anyway,
Also, like answered one was like again, as I said, Microsoft is supporting it. Microsoft has one project named Fluent UI React Native, which works all the platform and give you the same UI of the main design system of Microsoft. So this where this support comes from the company who has been about the desktop. So
that reminds me of James. I was speaking to James from the Fluent team, and they want some integration of native base with Fluent API. So maybe.
yeah.
Good stuff. Next question. I think this is similar to the last two questions. Like now we see a lot of problems between platforms and between these technologies, and we are somehow trying to navigate through and build our apps, cross-platform apps, right? Do you think there is still a comeback for web views and something like Ionic or Apache Cordova? This question was not there, but still, would love to hear.
I guess,
Out of syllabus.
no, I guess I got a chance to work with Ionic before Flutter. So I was producing videos on Ionic before Flutter, and then Flutter came in, and I never looked back what's happening with the Ionic. So I don't feel there is a chance to if someone is like, as a company, someone is going to pick Ionic because same the React Native, maybe the Expo is doing great thing over the cross platform. So as per my experience, I never went back and looked at what's happening with the Ionic and Cordova. So I don't think so. There's a great chance of them to have a more application built into the marketplace.
But if we check all the boxes, because talking about SSR, talking about all those things, if we are going the web first approach, web is sorted, and then we are just solving for native, like mobile apps, and if we somehow solve it and like communicate the native APIs inside this, then probably I think there might be, if the like 60 FPS performance issue is solved, then probably there might be a chance of that coming back.
Yeah, I can. There's something to say.
Yeah, go ahead if you have.
No, I don't. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I think one thing is web views never left mobile world actually. If you use any of the popular apps, you won't realize it that how much part of it is actually web views. Okay. Giving you an example, Kite has all of its onboarding on web actually. There's a reason behind it because like any onboarding on any app, it is very complex. It looks very simple to just tap on it or just tap on the name, but behind there are so much of nuance to it which keeps changing. And when you are on mobile, you can't just say, okay, there's a change, you will deploy it. You need to roll out updates, you need to do a sanity. There is so much of things. That's when many companies put many things behind a web view where they can change it instantly. Swiggy uses web views. Every app, even we at Grow use web views, but you would never realize it because it's made so blended with the app that you won't realize that you went to a web view. Web views actually never left the mobile world.
Yeah, there's a comeback.
I think native script is it's not talked about much. I feel it is a very interesting framework, native script. Like it gives the rendering layer could be anything. It could be Vue, Angular, I think the React anything, and you can communicate to the native world with APIs. I think that's really great. Native script. I think that it never got the attention or blogs or talks around it. It never became the mainstream.
Yeah, native script.
I also have experimented with the native script, and it was great. Like I did it with the Angular back in 2014.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great. But maybe I guess there is no community about it, and I guess that's where it's lacking.
You need $1 billion company for that. The two companies driving React Native and Flutter.
Yeah.
Suraj?
On web views and other libraries like this thing, so they uses Chromium engine right inside. So there is performance issue as I have used earlier. So is this fixed now? In Grow, you are using web view.
So we use web views, and so there is a difference that where we want to use web views. It's not like you can throw any part of your app in web views.
Yeah.
It's like some part you would realize, okay, this is also user centric. This is like user would go to it, but not that much. But it is important. So that's why we are like, okay, maybe we can put this in web views. Many apps actually are. It's one of the amazing things which I was unaware of. That many new features which comes to it, there are actually many of web views, not in Grow, but on different apps. So when when you jinker on it, you can see it's a web view because the button it won't have a ripple effect. So there are many things that you can distinguish that it's a web view, but it's like so blended well with many popular apps you won't even realize it. Yeah. I think Swiggy is a great example.
Grocery part of Swiggy is
Yeah.
100% web view.
Yeah, you can see it, you can feel it, and now grocery part is just a full blown small app. It's like full blown app. It's like it's completely web view. Small example of how powerful they are, but it depends on the team size how they can pull off because it's not an easy task. Because they want the web pages to be served very quickly. There should be no white flashes. Depends on many factors.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you have to have some strict architecture around it. Otherwise, anyone can just jump in and start coding. You can't. They can't do that. I think.
Design system.
Design system.
So development around WebView actually it's very difficult. So like we had one work the requirement that we have to create a Gmail application and the internal application we have to like include all the WebView APIs. So customization, as he mentioned, that it needs a high skill to like work on the UI part of the WebView because all the ripple effect and all the UI fill that you will be needing, there is no direct API open for that. You have to like go through the rendering engine and you have to like customize component at that level. So yeah, the development around it's like still maybe the community is not that much grown or like we don't have those information like easily available. So
yeah.
If I remember it correctly, Tata 1mg is completely web view.
No, Tata 1mg, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Tata New is Flutter shell and then web views inside it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tata 1mg
That's so true.
has
Yeah.
many parts. Like I think it's completely web view. I don't know, but it has many web views.
Yeah.
so Tata New is actually
It's
is
a
in
Flutter
web.
app, so we were. I was talking to the architect of that. So he was keen on using Flutter over React Native. And he was like, Flutter for mobile any day over React Native. And then they used WebView, and those WebView actually use React inside.
Yeah.
I guess I had an experience to use the Tata New app, and I guess throughout the app I only felt like the landing page was designed in Flutter, and if I click on any option on any category, it will open in WebView. So I guess the only landing page was designed on Flutter. The rest of them is again like mix of React.
Even Paytm uses web views aggressively.
Yeah.
Okay, so WebView use React then. Just kidding. Great. Moving on, I think let's talk about performance a little bit. There were a couple of talks on performance, but yeah, performance with React Native and performance with Flutter. Flutter claims 60 FPS. That's their marketing thing, right? 60 FPS. So let's start with React Native. How is the performance of React Native?
I mean, in React Native, we have always faced the issue of performance in terms of like whenever we have some kind of heavy lifting, we have to, and the main div is occupied. Because of that, the animation may be laggy, whatever it might be. So, I mean, that has improved a lot now. I mean, even the reanimated 3 library that has come out, that improves a lot of performance in terms of what are the issues that we're facing. So, I wouldn't say that it has reached that potential that, okay, we would see that 60 FPS, the performance that we get every time. But yeah, it is evolving a lot over the years. It has evolved a lot in terms of performance. And I mean, the community is supporting a lot in terms of each and everything. Like even flat list, the issue that we had, right? The community or the organization, Shopify, came up with flash lists. Similarly, there are a lot of community that are putting in a lot of effort in terms of improving the performance. So we are getting there, I would say.
Yeah, I totally agree with Shivraj. So we can't say that we have 60 FPS in all the components, but we can say it's usable. You can use React Native Web and it's super smooth, no problem at all. But with few of the components like scroll view and flat list, so we can see the performance show over there. But with the new architecture, we really have some hope with this thing. I haven't experimented with it, but with flash list, I have seen the demo and example code and all, and it looks pretty much promising to me. And the flat list issue. The flat list issue is solved with flash list. Other than that, we have to set. There are some coding patterns. So some patterns, if we follow, so we can get the most out of React Native. So we have to follow those as well in React Native. So as it's a declarative language, so we can't really say that anyone can use it in their way, and that causes some performance issue. And yeah, there's the things that are coming in my mind. So.
At the same time, if we have a lot of heavy lifting that needs to be done, we we have the advantage that we can shift it to, for example, if it is a native animation or anything, we can shift that to the JS set or anyway, we can switch it out and get that kind of performance. It's just that we have to move to the native layer in that case.
You have to do that extra.
Yeah, extra effort.
I totally agree with what Suraj said. Like, there are some coding patterns which needs to be followed to get best performance, right? So I guess Flutter promises on that, like 60 FPS, and yes, that is achievable in Flutter, and Flutter has achieved that because Flutter has given those widgets, especially those builders, what they say is because those builders are been designed for best performance to get rid of that janky loads or having those lags when we animate something. But again, on the screen, we need to follow some design principles as well. We cannot have 100 animations running at the same time. That will obviously hit your performance. So yes, it's a combination of what architecture of code you are writing plus what design system or design guidelines you're following. So yeah, that is where we need, even as a developer, you need to take care of what you are writing, which will eventually help you to get a better performance for you.
And that's the thing for both the platforms, right? Be it Flutter or React Native.
So for React Native performance, it's quite funny because I work at Go for the same thing, and main thing about performance in React Native is like there are many problems which are actually not due to React Native but React itself, which is like it's so much of nuance of reuse callback, use memo. Everyone says ki, okay, you have a function, you use callback, use memo for that, and it turns up hurting the performance. So many times I think there are some problems. Many of the problems are on the JS side. For rest of the performance for animations and gestures, which are the libraries which already solves it. But when it's time to measure the performance, that's where things get really tricky. Just for the case, like recently, this last 3 weeks, I was building an in-house library at Grow to measure performance. We have a community package named React Native Firebase Performance, on which you can start a trace on Firebase and stop it. But the problem with that API is that it's asynchronous in nature because of React Native, right? Now, if I want to measure the first paint of the screen, right, I can't block the main UI thread saying, okay, please wait till the trace starts, only then you can proceed, right? So that community package was blocking in the way. So we had to create an in-house package which doesn't return promises to devs, but are like silent functions. And I created like a small bridge to start a trace and to send over the data. So that was a really tricky part, and that's where I feel the problem is, because like when you try to move a step big with React Native, you will feel okay, there is async, it can hurt performance, because we didn't want it to measure the performance, we ended up hurting the performance, right? So there is so much of I think for this part, I feel that for someone to measure it, they need to know so much of things. Like, okay, there would be bridge. If I navigate to this page, there would be so much on the bridge. There's so much of things the developer needs to be aware of before making it. So I feel there is a lot of nuance on them.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, like in Flutter also, it's not only the logical part that like by which you can achieve the 60 FPS. So it also depends on the rendering and the platform that we are using. So it's a very open issue that in iOS still we can see that when we start the application at load time, we'll be seeing a jankiness. So although whatever logic we'll be writing, that is coming from the engine that where the Flutter is using and rendering all the canvas component. So there is some concept called shader engine, like which is a piece of code which have to run before iOS get compiled and like create visit in your application. So that piece of code highly depend on the engine and the device specification that you are using. As we know that all the devices also getting advancement, and every since we are getting updates on devices as well. But Skia engine, the engine have to also keep up with all the APIs, with all the enhancement going on with mobile applications. So for that, they are released in preview mode only. They have created an Imperial engine which is directly communicating with device like internally, and they are coping up with the device enhancement as well. So in next phase is maybe the jankiness issue related to animation or I was scrolling that, like we know everybody is famous in Twitter that okay, Flutter is still having this problem. So that is promising to solve these issues.
One more thing I want to point is like, though we talk about that React Native have good libraries to improve the performance, but all of them have so much of change. Even Flash List, If you go on the documentation itself, it says that for the key prop you need to be very careful, right? So any of the things which comes to React Native, it's not like you can plug it. Whereas in Flutter, what I feel good is like I don't need to think about it personally.
Yeah.
I don't need to think whether my code base will get this out of the box or not. It's just like okay, those awesome folks have done them. I just need to update it. I feel that's a great part of it.
Yeah, so fragmentation is an issue in React Native community for sure because of the community thing and Flutter like definitely makes a lot of sense. I think we've talked a lot negative about both the platforms. So that's time for what was the like top 2 things maybe that's like really great about Flutter or React Native. So let's talk about that. Ruchika, you want to take it? The best part of Flutter and why you use Flutter every day.
Okay, so the first part, like it is very easy to create beautiful UIs and which will give you a native experience, like not exactly native experience, but it's very close to that experience. And the after deployment also the app is so smooth and so fast, so that I'll be giving +1 for Flutter. And when it comes to creating a complex widget, lots of animations and micro animations, so that is like the inbuilt widgets that is Flutter is providing. By using that, you can just get a 60 FPS animation out of that. So yeah, so that will be my 2 points.
Ease of building and performance are the 2 top things.
I guess why Flutter is being like personally why I used to like Flutter is because the way they have designed the widget and the naming conventions and the APIs they provide, which is like so easy to get along, and also the community and also the documentation what we have from the Flutter team. So yeah,
I'll give +1 to community as well, because we know the community is very active. So like they launched that wondrous app in Flutter 3.3 Viking, and I just tweeted that okay, this is the application, and because I have the iOS, I shared the iOS screenshot. Some people have used in Android and they shared a screenshot. Okay, in Pixel, I'm just stuck with Splash Screen. Can anyone help me with that? And the same at like in half an hour only, the wondrous app guy who have worked, they created some build, they fixed that issue, and next day I'm getting an update. Okay, this is fixed. Now you can go ahead with and try to fix the application. So
interesting. Community plus.
Community.
Okay, great. I have some mixed feelings for that, but I'll come back to that later.
Sure.
There is only one reason I love about React Native, which is money.
That's a good thing. Okay, so React Native developers get paid. Good.
There are plenty of jobs in the market. Okay, jokes aside, I feel one, code push. A great capability which mobile lacks. Though it can be abused, but if you use it the right way, it's one of the powerful tools available. The second would be how much knowledge is not knowledge around the things which are already available out of the box for the web or something, because it's all around JS. Many packages which are JS only can be used on React Native. So I feel really like okay, there should be something available. I don't need to make something on my own.
So let's.
Yeah, firstly it's React. So we don't have to learn a new language. So APIs are same, declarative, and yeah, these are the most thing that we love. We love declarative languages, and we love, especially me, I love writing codes in functional, not in object-oriented pattern. So that's the main reasons I
Hot thinking.
like. Yeah.
I guess Suraj, you have to deal with that because you know what's happening, what we are building, right? So you need to cope up with the oops.
Yeah, I think for me as well, because it's a JavaScript framework, and we can, I mean, if we learn React, we can directly jump into React Native. At the same time, I feel because React Native is, I mean, it's not limited in terms of, let's say, if we have a native package, if the support is not out there, I mean, even I can bridge it. It's not that I have to wait for someone to bridge it actually. I can just go ahead and tweak something and do that, and I can bridge it. At the same time, as you mentioned, code push is a huge thing. I mean, we have been using it from the beginning, and it's a huge advantage over anything. So yeah.
Okay.
And to talk about community, we have React Native community.
I think one more part would be the tooling actually.
Tooling.
I think if someone has used Expo, I don't believe how good it is actually sometimes,
Yes.
because it's so magical that I just can scan the app, and those things can actually be made in-house if the company wants it. Like it's just updating the bundle. So there is so much of things you can do around the JS part of it to enhance the developer experience. That's one of the things which I actually like. I think at Grow we were recently looking for every PR we make, we can have a scanner or something for which we scan it and there's something sort of exposed. Yeah.
Great. So I think we'll close the session, but just one last. I would love to hear about the future and your personal context. Would you use it? Would you not? And what's the next 1 year looks like for Flutter or React Native? We'll start with Shivraj.
I think, a lot of things are happening in the React Native world. We have React Native architecture, as you mentioned earlier, right? And a lot of new things are coming as well. So, I feel this is the place where this is the year where React Native is evolving a lot and it is very fast paced. So, I think I will be using a lot in the future.
And Flutter?
I have no idea about Flutter as much
You
as
want to give it a shot?
Definitely, I did try it out. I feel it is very good, but at the same time, what I feel is when I think about a React Native, I just can connect to it in terms of because I know React or anything. I don't connect to Flutter as much as I connect to React or React Native. That's why.
Okay, comfort zone.
And I guess I want to add a point over there, and that's what we are trying to solve, like building, like pulling up the native base same API to the Flutter, which where a web developers can feel like, okay, this is same as what we have done in
Yeah.
A lot of things are coming in React Native, and the main thing that we are looking for is the new architecture and performance. And performance is the major thing that we are lacking over here. So if performance thing is fixed, most surely, so we'll be in very good place. And other than that, with React Native, community is really doing great, and lot of the libraries are coming in, and we can build. Now we have libraries for video rendering and web RTC. All the things are already coming in. So web API to React Native API, we can easily migrate. So that is the one thing.
Universal
aspect of this thing. Yeah. And I would also like to try out the Flutter web version if it's stable.
I'll help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually I started my journey with React Native, as we know, and I created a lot of applications like around 3 years back, and after that Flutter came. So at that time I was like, okay, Flutter is learning from React Native, and all the APIs that after using Flutter, it's like both the platform are similar, just they have framework aspect different. But today, when I was going through all the updates that is going around with React Native, then like I can easily correlate both the framework are actually learning from each other. And like related to performance or web or desktop web, whatever it is, I think all the APIs are available in both the application, both the community is growing. So for me, I think I can see future in both the framework, depending on the advantage or technology, whatever that developer will use, that showcase the technology.
Interesting.
I guess it's not a good for developer to stick with one technology, because you never know when it is going to fall down or when it is going to raise. Yeah. So I guess it's always good to try out different frameworks or whatever the different frameworks available for the same technology. I personally also learn about React and React Native because we never know when in future what is going to come, right? But currently, I see Flutter marketing team is doing great stuff, and Flutter is going to have that thing happening because of community and Google. So I guess Flutter have a bright future, and well, as I said, it should not be one side. As a Flutter developer, I need to keep myself known about what's happening in React and React Native as well, so that we can have a different framework.
Thanks.
Okay, so before giving my opinion here, one thing which I want to say is like, whatever the framework is, one thing which I feel that with many folks and developers I talk with, they're like, which one to pick, whether to React Native, Flutter, or Native for building the mobile app. And I'm like, just take your mindset of building the mobile app. Okay, like your mind should work as a mobile dev rather than a React Native, Flutter, Kotlin Swift dev. There's a big difference here because like all of these things are just tools, right? If For example, here instance, when I work here at Go, there is Kotlin code, there is Swift code, there's too much of nuance. Okay? And if something's in the production is like, okay, we need some help, and there's no one around. I'm not like, okay, I don't know Kotlin, I don't know how the native world works. You just need to see how these things are working, because there would be a screen, there would be a component which is displaying, there would be a mechanism to show the cache data and make the API call. The basics are same over all web and mobile platforms. I think just keep the basics right. Just think like a mobile dev rather than a framework or library dev.
Yeah.
First point here. Now for React Native, I feel in the coming 1 or 2 years, React Native is actually, I feel, going to change a lot. One, because even the new architecture is out, it's very fun to talk about it, but actually no one has used it apart from Facebook, because you would have hundreds of libraries which are not migrated yet. Firebase, which every mobile app depends on, hasn't been migrated. Camera hasn't been migrated, and there is no word on it when it will be migrated. So there is, and no company can go like, okay, we will migrate this on our own, right? Though it's out, it would, I think, take a year at least for a big giant to test it out. So before it's just talking about it. It's just talking about, okay, Fabric is great, but nothing to see, okay, it's improving something, right? Next is like the React Native folks, I think there is a many platform vision which is already talked about. And if you see, they are planning to replace yoga, which I am terribly afraid of, because I don't want my styles to be disturbed and I don't want to rewrite them. And there is no word what's going to be around it, whether there would be a new styling system into React Native. There is no word, there is like, okay, the yoga is going to be replaced. So I think with this 1 or 2 years, React Native is going to change a lot. It would be a different framework, I feel, after 1 or 2 years, to be very honest. There is so much things coming up, I think, around accessibility. There is some open discussions around React Native for SSR. There is so much things coming around, and it would be something very different in the coming years. For Flutter, I feel it is actually doing really great, because when I feel like to create a good app in React Native, you need to be aware so much of nuances, like how it works under the hood. You don't end up choking the bridge. With Flutter, it's like it's brainless actually. Like I just need to follow the docs, copy paste the code, and out of the box it will work great. Like in React or in React Native, you are like, okay, I got a bad memo here. Let's remove it. So that's what I like Flutter actually. It's like it's so brainless to work with. So brainless that okay, write a code and it will at least give me good performance just out of the box. There would be some issues, but that are tech level. Every framework, every library has some issues, but it's like how what's the probability of facing that issue? I think with React Native it's much more. You need to use reanimated with Flutter. It's like okay, we have an in-house library, use that.
Makes sense, yeah. I think great points and great conclusion by everyone. The first one that I'll take home is that don't just rely on something, one single piece of technology. Always have like multiple things. Also, that they said that get your basics right, be it Kotlin, Swift, and or maybe Flutter or React Native, whatever it is. So yeah, good stuff. The future is bright for both the technologies plus the other technologies as well. So yeah, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.